Hello, this is Mish from Downtime Distractions with a first look review of Concrete and Steel. So with all our first look reviews, please check the description below for specific detail on the difference between our full review versus our first look review. So what is this game? Well, Concrete and Steel is a creative sandbox game that has a single player and multiplayer component. So if you like building games, but you don't like the hassle of survival and storylines, then this game could be for you. So you can create structures using fabricated objects and materials, then add finishing touches with decorative items. In addition to that, you can also use the custom modding kit to create your own items to really create your own unique world. This is developed and published by Matterhorn Software Limited. This is their first game to be released onto Steam, but they've got a lot of experience in other areas, such as web design and creating gaming communities, which can be a very handy skill set when you're a game developer. These guys were kind enough to provide me a key for review, so thanks for that. So this title is coming out to early access on the 28th of May. Prices will be in US dollars $12.99, EU $12.99, and for Great Britain it'll be $9.99. So why early access? Well, feedback, of course. They want to improve, balance, tweak the game with the help of the community. Important note from the Steam page, which I'll slightly abridge for them. So they said, calling this a final complete game in its current state would misrepresent the game, and they do not want to upset or disappoint people that buy the game in its current state thinking that it is final or complete. That's the end of it. So for me, that line should be something when you enter your credit card details to purchase an early access game, that should pop up and you need to accept that term for all early access titles. So there's not the confusion which we currently have on early access. So anyway, moving on. So there's a large amount of content that they've temporarily stripped in order to be able to produce a polished build for Valve to review. And they're going to work on that content and push an update to everybody probably once per week. So the game will be in early access until it's ready to be called a finished product. So there's no real definitive time frame on that. So the main game components are in the game at the moment, so after they've gotten the game to a bug-free state that they're happy with, they've mentioned that looking to implement the Steam Workshop and other also challenges as well. The price looks set to remain the same after it comes out of early access, so that's very good. Okay, so let's briefly touch on the gameplay and the mechanics. So building structures, really. So with wall pieces, beams, roof pieces, floor pieces, cylinders. You could build houses, schools, bridges, castles, car parks, anything you can really think of. Then on top of that, you can customize them as well with colors and add fabricated items. So you could, change the color of all these items I just mentioned, add wallpaper, add glass, doors, windows, kitchen items, office furniture, buttons to turn on lights, and a whole lot more as well. So this can all be done in a single player mode, or it could be done online with other people. So sharing your creations and helping each other online. And that is where things are going to get interesting. So add on top of all of that as well, there's an SDK kit. So you can make your own items and really customize stuff in your own unique way. But also if there's someone that's really good at making those SDK kits, you could utilize theirs. As a lot of people don't have time to do that, they just want to implement someone else's ideas. So with the gameplay modes, we have single player, which is self-explanatory, and a multiplayer. So you can join servers and participate with other people in constructing whatever you guys want. So that is where things are going to be really cool. So this is the point where I'd normally talk about the story or the driver behind the game. But clearly there isn't one with this, as it's just a sandbox game. So I'll briefly mention the main developer's story and inspiration behind the game. So being a gamer, he was always inspired by any game that you could build something in. Say Sims, or Gmod, Minecraft, or even Roller Coaster Tycoon, Cities Skylines. However, he would always spend his time just building and not actually playing other aspects of the game. And I know that feeling because I'm sometimes the same with certain games. So as for the gameplay, he decided to keep it more like a tool than an actual competitive game, wanting it to be a place where people can go and express themselves to recreate something in their imagination or something they've seen in real life. So really providing a blank canvas and a good set of tools in an unlimited time frame. This is the point where we normally look at the options menu. But with this title, you don't really have one in game. You get a little splash screen when you start the game, so with that you have screen resolution options, windowed mode or not, graphics quality, and what monitor you like to choose. You can also remap your keys on that menu, but it's very basic and there's not a lot of options in there. But there's no point kind of showing you that screen because there's not a lot to it. So anyway, let's jump in and have a look at the game. Now, the interface. How we build stuff, how we interact with the world. So the user interface, top left hand corner, you can see there's 3 blue bars. So the button which is on the blue bar indicates how to obviously access that. So press tab, you cycle through them. So we cycle through them as in that's the build one, that's the color, I guess painting tab, and that is the cabling wiring tab. So let's pick the building tab, then we can press C and you can see that gives us, it opens it up and you can see exactly what's in there. So there'll be a whole lot more coming in here in the future, but at the moment we have a few interesting areas. So you get things like bathroom, bedroom, doors, floors, interactive, kitchen, lights, lounge, nature. So there's a fair amount in here. And so you choose what you want. So let's choose flooring, as we'll make a footpath into Downtime Distractions HQ. And once you pick the flooring, you can press V, and then you can drill down and be more specific in what you want within there. And you can see that's actually changing the item on the ground as well. So you can also just leave it like that and just scroll the mouse wheel, and that works quite nicely anyway. So as you can see on the floor, there's an area which is the red cross, which is the area you need to aim for and look at when you're doing this. So if you want to line them up, you line up that red cross there and you can put them next to each other. And also you can cycle, I guess, rotate the item. And once again, you're looking at that cross. So if you go over here, put the cross there, and that's pretty good. So we kind of want to keep the cross going. You don't have to look at the cross, it's just a good reference point. And the grid's quite nice as well. A grid is quite helpful. So we can spin around, go this way if we want to, and so on and so forth with that. And let's look at some of the prefabricated items as well. So let's go back to the menu here and let's look at here we go, park bench. That sounds good. So street items. So go to street items, then press V, and let's choose park bench. So people can have a little sit on their way into the building if they really want to. So it's a bit of a long walk, so let's have a sit down and a bit of a rest here when we're walking into the building. And that's the same, you can rotate that as well. Okay, and let's have a brief look at interactive tools as well. So at the moment, all we have is one single button. So let's stick this button on a wall. There we go. But what we need to go to the wires, then press the button and point it. See how the cursor's changed? So point it at the door. Now that should be done. Now if we go up to that and hit E, interact, and close the door, please interact. There we go. So you can add little buttons. I'm sure this will be built on in the future, but it's very easy to use, very intuitive to add buttons and to get things going. So let's just have a quick look at how you construct walls, because that's probably the main component of the game. So here's a big wall here, so we'll dump that one there. Now, how do you then, I guess, get the roof and get the floor? Well, you can select a floor here, which automatically puts it onto the ground, which is what we were doing before. So there we go. You can just easily put that one butted up next to it. Use the grids. There we go. The next one would be, let's go back to the wall. I find the wall works better. There is a roof option, but the wall seems to work better on using that vertical to get the nice horizontal level. So once again, just using the grids to get the line that you want. You can also lock the axis with the Control and Alt buttons. So you go locked that way and locked that way. So yeah, I mean, it's as easy as that to really do stuff, but it does get quite finicky, and it can be a bit annoying when you're trying to get a certain angle. But I mean, it's simple enough if you were doing simple structures, but when you start getting to bigger structures, it does get a little frustrating at points. But I mean, it's very, very easy to pick up and do the basic stuff. You know, it's not difficult to do this stuff at all. There you go. Little, I don't know what that is really, but yeah, and you can start adding in. There you go. It's a shelf cupboard. How about that? But yeah, so let's just jump into a bit of a summary on graphics, audio, and gameplay. So with the graphics with this game, it doesn't look amazing. It's very functional, and it works well when you're building too. It's very clear. It's easy to build. The visual style of it helps you whilst you're building, and that's really the design of it as well. But in saying that, if you were to build a massive complex, it would look good as well. It's graphically good enough. The textures are nice, and as I say, if you build a nice big structure, it's going to look quite nice. So let's talk about audio quickly. Not a lot of sounds in this game. It's a real paucity on the sound front. I have mentioned this to the developer, and they're mentioning they want to add more ambient sounds in the future, but all you really have in this is a little bit of sound when you construct. It makes a little bit of a noise, your footsteps, and a little bit of ambient noise every now and again, but not really a lot of sound in general. So with the gameplay, now this is quite tricky, but let me break it down into two parts. Okay, on one side, I want to say this game is probably not going to be for everybody. I know a lot of people are going to look at it and say, well, I don't want this game because I want to, fight off zombies, or I want to fight off cannibals, or I want to walk around the world collecting resources, or I want to, I want that survival aspect. I want the competitive PvP. I want to build something. I want to, build a building which will allow me to build another building and have an unlock system. And this game doesn't cater for any of that. This is purely a sandbox with that creative component. So a lot of people will obviously be quite put off by that. But I think a lot of people are going to really like it. You've got just that freedom to build whatever you want. It's very similar to the Minecraft creative mode, in that you have everything that you need and you can build whatever you want. And add on top of that, if you want to jump online multiplayer, you could team up with some friends or with someone else online, have a chat with them, maybe even get voice comms going, and build something together. Build a massive complex, recreate your street, or recreate a town or a village, or whatever you want. The world's your oyster. As if you can imagine it, you can really do it with this game. So that's why it's really good. It's a real creative outlet. And I want to kind of compare it as well to, why would you build something with Lego? Because you want to build something and see the final product. And that's the same with this game. It's almost like it's like painting. If you don't paint for anything else apart from, I guess, the relaxation when you're doing it and the enjoyment whilst you're doing it, and then the final product. And that's the same with this game. It's going to be quite relaxing once you're doing it. You could maybe team up and do combine building with other people and make a little community there. So it's very cool, very interesting, and very unique. I think there's a great potential with this game, but it really also hinders on the community and how that evolves. If it doesn't get a community, it's still going to be interesting to play it a little bit by yourself, but you're really going to need a goal to work for. So if you're kind of on the fence thinking, should I pick this up, should I not? I'd probably say you probably shouldn't. If you're looking at this game thinking, I really wanted to recreate, my high school that I went to school in, or I want to recreate some awesome architecture that I saw when I was overseas. If you've got some ideas in mind, or you're just a creative person, you want an outlet, this might be a real positive game for you. So all that really was, I guess, the gameplay concept and design. But the delivery and how you're going to interact with the UI is a little bit different. Being early access, there's still a lot of work to be done. And it's very intuitive. You can jump in and do the basics very easily with this game, and it's a very positive thing. It's very easy to pick up. The tutorial is quite quick. It doesn't need to show you a lot because there's not a lot of tips and tricks in there. Once you've figured out how to use the menu system, it's really trial and error of how it works for you. But yeah, there are downsides to it, and just the amount of items in the game. They need to augment more items as it goes on, and they are doing, because obviously early access. There should be just a profuse amount of fabricated items, because the items you want are the items that are never there. It's just typical. But yeah, I guess regards the UI and adding items and trying to line them up, it can be clunky and very frustrating as well, especially if you're a perfectionist and you're trying to get the perfect wall alignment or the perfect roof exactly how you want it. Sometimes you have to jump around to try and get the right location, and it can be frustrating. And also, the UI is very basic. If you look at other games, there's a reason why a lot of games have features where I guess you can press a button and drag the same item multiple times to make a whole line of them, because that's accepted as a common idea. And this game misses a few things like that, and that's one of them. So if you want to do a wall all the way along, you have to manually do it. But this could change. Early access, of course. So yeah, kind of comparing it to other games in the same way of how you build, it is simplistic and a bit buggy in its current state. So because this is early access, here's some suggestions. I've given some throughout the review anyway, but here's some more. Just clarifying what I want, what I'd like to see in a game. Being able to hold and drag for quick building. I think that would be a really handy feature. That is in many other games and many other, I guess, building software, planning software, stuff like that. So you can start building something, or you can say, duplicate this 10 times in that direction. Things like that. Very handy, and there's a reason why they're quite common is because people like them. It's missing from this game, unfortunately, but early access, it can change. Being able to manipulate items, so stretching, changing vertices, moving meshes around, stuff like that. It could be, you're going to add a lot more calculations to the CPU when you're doing stuff like that, and also when if someone makes a massive area and you add a whole lot more vertices, it's going to take a whole lot more calculations to load that. So that's something to kind of balance, but that would be something I would really like to see at the basic level, just to be able to scale. Maybe hold a certain button and roll a mouse, and you can automatically scale all of the items a bit bigger or smaller. Would be something. Lower raised terrain, that's another thing I'd like to see. Maybe adding water. I would like to have added a moat to my castle that I made. It would have been nice. So kind of lower the terrain, add some water, would have been quite cool. More items across the board. I know they're saying that there's more coming, and there's probably more already in the works anyway, but that's obviously I'd like to see that. Now, something which would add longevity for me. I do like the feel of the kind of, you've accomplished something, you've built something, you look back and say, that's really cool, I really enjoyed that. That was a good couple of hours I spent in there, and it's really nice. But some people do want a bit of, I guess, a reason to replay. That might not be enough for people that they just see it and go, okay, that's fun, I like that, but I don't want to do it again. There's no reason for me to do it again. So just trying to think of options to add that bit of replayability. For me, on the store page it says they want to add challenges. I don't think challenges would really work very well with this game. But for me, something which might work would be, say, having certain areas which you can build in. So you're allotted a certain amount of space. You have to complete a building and then sell it to be able to buy a bigger area to build something else. So kind of gating how much space you can have to limit your creative ability to start with. So then there's something to kind of build to. Also adding things where, I guess once you've built the structure, somehow being able to test it. So maybe earthquake test it, or wind test it, or maybe water test it, have the ability to simulate rain, and is your building actually watertight? Something like that might also add another reason to do it, because, if you fail, then you're like, okay, well, I'll do it again, and I'll add a different type of roof, So very tricky to implement that type of stuff, but that would be the stuff that would kind of hook me, I think. Okay, so I'll leave this here and say, I hope I've given you enough information to purchase this or not. I'm quite excited by it. I think this game has got fantastic potential. If the community grabs hold of it, this could be massive. But in saying that, if the community doesn't, and Steam grabs a hold of it and swallows it down into the Steam abyss, we may never see this title again, and it'll be a bit of a shame. But this happens every day, as there's many games that are fantastic that are being swallowed up by the Steam abyss, and no one ever gets to see it, which is a real shame. It's a fantastic place for us as consumers to be in, because we have such a plethora of choice. But the thing is, it's a real shame for the developers who spend their lives making these games, and they make fantastic games a lot of the time. Some of them aren't, obviously, but when they make a really good game, it has really good feedback, and then it just disappears because it doesn't get on the main Steam page. It's pretty sad when that happens. So leave me a comment below. Positive, negative criticism is always helpful. And also, if you're playing a game, let me know, and let me know if you want me to check out your work, your structure in the game. I could pop onto a server and have a look. That'd be pretty cool. Thumbs up if you liked the video, thumbs down if you didn't, obviously, and subscribe for more videos from us in the future. And this has been Mesh from Downtime Distraction, and this has been Concrete and Steel, and I'll see you next time.